Inshallah, today we are talking about one of the capital punishment in Islam, that is the punishment of as-sariqa, or the theft or stealing. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم والسارق والسارقة فقطعوا أيديهما جزاء بما كسب نكالا من الله والله عزيز حكيم, which means, as for the male thief and the female thief, cut off the hands of both. Okay, so in this ayah, as you can see, Allah commands and decrees that the hands of the thief must be cut off. Okay, by the way, in the pre-Islamic period, they were cutting off the hands of the thieves. So when Islam came, he upheld such idea, and he confirmed that the hands of the thief must be cut off. But you have to put in your mind, there are several conditions have to be met before cutting the hands of the thief. Okay? The first one about the meaning of the stealing. What is the meaning of the stealing in Islam? Because it's very important to make distinction between the meaning of the stealing and the many other meaning related or connected with something like that. For example, stealing in Islam, to take the property of other or the money of the other without knowledge, in the secret. Okay? So when you take the money of the other in the secret, no one can see you, so it's stealing. But for example, if you take the money of the other by the force or under the threat, it's not stealing. You can call it robbery. Why? Because robbery here means you took the money by the force, violently. Also, if you plunder the money, it's not stealing. When you plunder, you take the money or the property of the other publicly. So many people can see you. Okay, so it's not stealing. If you make dishonesty, is something different. Okay, for example, if someone give you a manna, something to keep in your trust as a kind of confidence, then he asked you again to return it back, and you said, no, I didn't take anything, so it's a cheating or dishonest, something different. Okay, fraudulence, it's something different. In all these cases, the punishment of stealing is not applicable. Why? Because all of these cases are not considered in Islam as a stealing. So one can ask, what is the difference between stealing and all these crimes? By the way, they are crimes which entails or requires punishment, but not the punishment of the steal. Why? Because in those cases, you can take your money or take your property because you have witnesses. When you take the money in the public, many people can witness something like that. And the one who plunders your money, the one who cheated you or something like that. But in stealing, you can't know who is the dawa, who is the perpetrator. So it's very hard for you to return your money back. That's why Islam said stealing is something different from other crimes, and the punishment, that the cutting of the hand must be applicable just in case of stealing. This is the first thing. The second condition, about the place of the money or the property. Islam stipulated that to be stealing, you have to take the money from a place which is usually considered secure. In other words, proper protection. For example, if you left your money, and someone took it, it's not a stealing. It's not a stealing. Where the place in which you can keep your money, for example, wallet or the safe in your house. So if he took the money from the safe, so it's stealing. But if you lifted the money outside, outside the house, outside your pocket, it's not a stealing, and so on. You can draw this example to anything not kept in the proper protection. Okay. A third condition regarding your age, you have to reach the age of puberty, so no cutting to the child. You have to be sound, not applicable or to the insane or the mad one. Also regarding the purpose behind the stealing. So there is no cutting in Islam for the one who steals out of hunger. If you are hungry and you took and you stole something for eating or something like that, even money, so there is no cutting. Why? Because you didn't steal out of welfare or prosperity. No, you are hungry. That's why you need to eat. Because of that, Umar radiallahu anhu stopped the punishment of cutting hands in the time of starvation. Why? Because the people are in need, So, or you steal under duress, so there is no cutting. As we said, if you steal in the hidden, in the secret, no one can see you. So how can we establish the crime of stealing? You have to bring two witnesses. Two witnesses. Regarding the condition of the two witnesses, it's very hard to meet the requirements of the two witnesses. Why? Because the two witnesses, both of them, must meet about 5 things. The details about the one who stole, the one who stole, the one who is, what his description, They have to be accurate about everything about the one who stole the property or the money. About, the timing. What is the time? If someone said it was, for example, Thursday, and the other said it's, Friday, so no cutting, About the stolen goods or the item, everything. If there is any description differ from the two witnesses, so no cutting of the hand will be applicable. Why? Because we have a hadith, in the Prophet Muhammad said, إِدْرَاءُ الْحُدُودَ بِالشُّبْهَاتِ, which means you have to stop hudud, you have to stop punishment because of suspicions. If any suspicion is found, no cutting, okay, and so on. So when you meet the requirements or the conditions of the stealing, it becomes hard to cut. Okay, this is is considered a response to those who accuse Islam and says this punishment is a kind of barbaric action, a cruel action against the people. No barbarian in Islam. Why? Because Islam put severe condition before implementing the punishment. But if it happened, and you found someone guilty of stealing, and you met all the requirements, you have to cut the first hand, that is the right hand, up to the wrist, Why we say that? Because, some of the people who are not specialized in the Quran and the Sunnah, or those who hate, the hadith of the Prophet Muhammad are trying nowadays to take this ayah away of the context and giving another description or another interpretation to the meaning of the cutting, So the cutting hand is not means to amputate it. No, it's something like to keep him away of the society, like to jail him, to put him in the prison, or even cutting, which means like wounding. And you can derive such meaning from the story of Yusuf alayhi salam, when the women started to cut their hands. So they said in the Surah Yusuf, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala talk about the cutting of the hands. And it doesn't mean they cut it to amputate it. But as we said, you have, when you read the Quran and the Sunnah, you have to keep 2 things. The first one, the context. As we said, the context is very important. Like the English, you can't give the proper meaning until you read whole context, because the meaning is different. The word is different from one context to another context. Second, about the Sunnah, we have been a hadith narrated on the authority of Muhammad, which he talked about the value what we call the nisab in the Arabic language, the value. If you reach it, you will be cut. Because in Islam there is no cutting in the trivial things. If you stole something which is trivial, no cutting. But cutting, you have to reach the value. Okay? And the value is determined by the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ in his hadith when he said, لا قطع إلا في ربع دينار فصاعدا. No cutting unless you reach the quarter of dinar. Quarter of dinar is something evaluated or equivalent to more than 1 gram of gold. Okay? Some of the poetry, some of those who say poetry at the time, I don't know, the first century of the Hijrah, he made like comparison between if you damage the hand of your Muslim brother and if you steal something from your Muslim brother. So the value, as we said, ربع dinar, quarter of dinar, which is equivalent to 1 gram of gold. But if you damage the hand of your Muslim, you have to pay diya, sum of money, which is estimated 5,000 dinars. So look at the difference. 5,000 dinar if you damage the hand of your Muslim. But if you steal something equivalent, quarter of dinar, look at the difference. 5,000 dinar and 1 quarter of dinar. So for the same hand, it's 1 hand. But if you damage, you have to pay 500. And if you steal something equal to quarter of dinar, your hand to be cut off. So it's a contradiction. It's 1 hand. He said it's 1 hand. But in the first case, 500 dinar, and the second just quarter of dinar. But the fuqaha give him a logic reply. He said, in the first case, it was honest hand, so it was very expensive, very precious. But in the second hand, it was dishonest. It was cheap. So if you are honest, you are precious. If you are dishonest, you are very cheap. Okay. Another thing, if you said you can damage the hand of your Muslim brother and just pay a quarter of dinar, it's very easy for everyone who hates someone to cut off his hand, and just pay 1 quarter of dinar. In the same, if it's easy for you to take such money, so everyone can take and steal from us. This is why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, who is the wise, who is very powerful, issued such legislation. Why? To deter, to prevent the other, and to keep the property and the money of that. If you are very sad about the cutting hand of the stealer, look at the other hand. Look at the one whose property is taken. His money is taken. It's very hard. Islam doesn't want to punish people. No, just Islam want to keep stability and the prosperity in the society. And look at those who refused the Islamic capital punishment and just say it's lawful to keep them in the prison. Once they enter the prison, nothing changed. Even the prison became like, a center of sharing ideas about how to steal in a very high way after you come out of the prison. So the worldly punishment apparently don't suit and don't keep stability in our community. Okay, that's why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala established and issued such capital punishments, but only those who have mind and sound heart, who can understand what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said. أقول قولي هذا واستغفر الله لي ولكم وجزاكم الله خيرا والسلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.